We fly from Cape Town to Johannesburg and then on to Hoedsport. We meet our guides and drive to the Tintswalo Safari Lodge in the Manyeleti Game Reserve. The impressive main lodge is made of local thatch and stone. The thought on everyone's mind is, what's a Tintswalo? They point to this definition, a complex emotion expressed in a single word. Each of the 7 suites is named for a 19th century explorer. Ours is named for Samuel Baker. To say our suite is well appointed would be an understatement. We can sit in our 2 comfortable overstuffed chairs and gaze out on the plunge pool, which we share with the birds. Or we can relax in our footed tub. And when we get a chance to explore the main lodge, we get that same feeling. It's a great place to relax, with a well-stocked wine cellar. The spacious dining room sets expectations, and the food lives up to those expectations and tastes as good as it looks. The Manyeleti Game Reserve is a 56,000-acre private game reserve bordering Kruger National Park. The area is a dry woodland with open patches of grassland and some seasonal streams. It's a great place to see the big 5: elephants, buffalo, rhino, lion, and leopard. Elephants are relatively abundant and easy to spot. Buffalo frequents some of their favorite places, so the guides know where to look. But sometimes they just appear. Lions are resting most of the daylight hours, so they're easy to find. This old patriarch must have had a tough night defending his territory. We disturbed this lioness's sleep, but not for long. Leopards are always hard to spot. I have no idea how the guides spotted this mother and her yearling cub on a riverbank. Lucky for us, she decided to leave her cover. She eyes us warily. We're no threat to her, so she sits down and poses for us, and her cub joins her. And they set off to find a quieter place to nap. The last of the big 5 is the rhinoceros. Under threat from poachers, one of these rhinos has had her horn trimmed off as an anti-poaching measure. The circle of life is a constant in this wild world. The lions killed a buffalo last night and then ate their fill. Now the hyenas have their turn. There's a hierarchy here. The most aggressive eat first. Now with their bellies full, they make way for the younger and smaller of the pack. The black-backed jackal looks for any scraps he can steal. The jackal is an omnivore. In addition to carrion, it will eat insects, snakes, lizards, rodents, and the eggs of birds. The hyena relax in a mud bath after their meal. Meanwhile, the next shift starts to arrive. The vultures wait in the trees until the hyenas leave. Then it's their turn to pick the bones. Nothing is wasted. Even the keratin of the buffalo's horn becomes food for the larvae of the horn moth. Finally, the bones are left to bleach, crumble, and to enrich the soil. The Manyeleti Reserve's mix of grass and woodland makes a great environment for antelope. The reserve has a large population of impala. The males in the bachelor herd spar, waiting for the day they will challenge the dominant male. There are lots of babies, In the circle of life, some will feed the leopards and the lions. Wildebeest also thrive here, even though they are a favorite meal of the lions. The kudu is one of the largest antelope. They're widespread but sparsely populated. A distant relative of the kudu is the handsome Nyala. We didn't expect to see waterbuck here. It's a grazer who prefers to be near water. The bushbuck is a small, solitary antelope that's well adapted to this savanna woodland. These chukma baboons were the only monkeys we saw in the reserve. Like their human cousins, they're very adaptive omnivores. The subspecies of zebra found here is Burchell zebra, the southern subspecies of the plains zebra. My nominee for the cutest critter is the dwarf mongoose. There are a lot of butterflies in the reserve, but not many will pose for pictures. That brings us to the underappreciated dung beetle. They can bury dung 250 times their body weight in a single night. Thus, they contribute to improved soil conditions and plant growth. They also disperse seeds and protect livestock by removing dung, which can provide habitat for livestock pests. Of course, I can't forget the birds. There are more in the reserve than just vultures. There's a fish eagle perched on a tree overlooking a small pond. The yellow-billed kite glides through the air looking for insects and small rodents for dinner. The tawny eagle will wait for the vultures to finish a carcass and then pick up the small bits. This francolin is one of many pheasant-like birds that forage in the grass for insects and seeds. Bodies of water are scarce in the reserve. The few left attract water birds like this gray heron. The marsh sandpiper winters in Africa and spends spring and summer across Central Asia, while the white-faced whistling duck prefers Africa all year round. The Egyptian goose was sacred to the ancient Egyptians. Small perching birds are easily overlooked, so they need something to catch your interest, like flamboyant plumage, or maybe just a very long tail, or maybe a very large yellow beak, or maybe iridescent feathers, and maybe a famous name. William Burchell traveled around South Africa from 1810 to 1815, collecting over 60,000 specimens. The call of the woodland kingfisher is heard throughout the reserve. It's aggressively territorial, calling to announce its ownership. It hunts from a tree branch, waiting for insects. It starts to rain as we are leaving Tintswalo Safari Lodge, providing much needed water to this dry land.